Computer. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual coffee hour. I'm going to hand this over to our district volunteer coordinator, Lisa Leonard Doozy.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Lisa Leonard Doozy. I actually recognize a couple of you on the meeting, so hi, it's nice to see you. I'm the new district volunteer and mentor coordinator. So I'm super excited to be here. I don't know about you, but I love coffee. So even though it's virtual, I'm super excited to have a coffee hour. To be honest, though, I've already had 2 cups of coffee today because it is Monday. So I will be having water during our coffee hour. Hopefully you guys are drinking something fun. So just a reminder, this is our first coffee hour of the year. Again, I'm super excited to be here along with my coworkers. And we're going to be doing this each month, different topics where we come together, we can share as a group, we talk about different things, bring you up to speed. Today, we're going to have a couple of guest speakers. Dr. Brim is going to be speaking. She's the Director of Strategic Partnerships. I'm going to be doing a little talk. And then Miss Simmons is going to be joining as well. We've got some great material about some things that we've updated this year, different ways to support you. So let's talk just a little bit about the virtual kind of ground rules. I know at this point, we're pretty familiar with a virtual world. We're used to being on Zoom, whether we're talking with students or talking with friends. But there's always a couple updated Zoom features and just a couple of things that I would like to walk you through. So when you first signed on, we created a function where you're muted, but if you're not, just a reminder to mute yourself with the background noise. And if you look your little square where your face is, like your little picture, in the upper right-hand corner is a mute button. So I just did it. You can see where it changes. I mean, it's not awesome if the speaker is muted, but I'm showing you what you need to do just like that. And then also, if you go just to the right, you see those 3 dots. And if you click on that, you can see there's a couple of different options. So you can see some of my colleagues have chosen a virtual background. That can be super fun. This is a good time to practice or play with something like that. If you are meeting virtually with students, they get a real kick out of different backgrounds that you can choose. Like at my home, I've chosen like a Star Wars background and galaxy backgrounds and all sorts of cool stuff. And then if you see at the bottom, if you click on that, there is an option to rename yourself. So sometimes when you sign on, there's like a default. This is important in meetings like this, then we know your first and last name, especially when you've signed. I mean, I don't want to say for attendance purposes, but it helps us know who was here. And then when you're meeting with your student, you know, it's always good also if you're using that, you know, to indicate your first and your last name. This is big for me because before I started working with Pinellas County Schools, I was working virtually out of my home for the last 7 years. So I kind of get on my soapbox about cameras, but it's hard sometimes when you're talking to the world. It's just like the abyss and the black cameras. We love to see your faces. We love to see your reactions. So if you are able to today, we would love for you guys to put your cameras on. It just makes it a lot more interactive, especially when we get to breakout rooms, to really put a face to the name and see all that. All right, also on the bottom, you can also mute on the bottom too, if you see that, depending on how your panel looks. And that's how you turn your video on and off as well with those little icons. And if you move over, mine will probably look a little different than yours because I'm a co-host, but I want to show you where that chat box is if you've never used it. And if you click on that, if you guys practice, then you can type in a message. And then just so you know too, the default is everyone. And then depending on, excuse me, the meeting settings, if you would want to talk to somebody individually, which in this arena, you wouldn't probably really want to, but the automatic default is everyone. And when you type that in, then it goes into the chat. Oh, and Miss Kane just did it, and Miss Jones too. So you can see it says, good morning, good morning. Oh, hi, everybody, good morning. Sun, smiley face, sunshine, good. Okay, the other thing is way to the right is a reactions button. And the more time that goes on, there's some cooler features that have been added. I always have fun, like on my phone, like I use Facebook, so I love the different reactions. But you can see I want everybody to kind of practice. If you click on that reactions, you're going to see something that pops up. And then you can see you've got like a little hand clap, a thumbs up, joy. Oh, good, you guys are practicing. I love that. An open mouth, you know, a shock if you heart, like if you love something, celebration. There's also those three dots again. If you click, there's more different options. So it's fun to add, you know, add different stuff. Again, if you are meeting with a student, it's a cute, and see Debbie used one actually that's not on that normal menu with the sunglasses. So it's really fun to just kind of play around with that and use some different things. Another thing on the bottom, you can see raise hand. So we're going to have some opportunities today to discuss things, get in breakout rooms. There'll be times for questions, but like Miss Marilyn used this when she had signed on. So if you click on that, you raise your hand, the little hand comes up, and then we know that you guys have a question for us. Okay, so that's kind of just the general housekeeping stuff, what we've got planned for today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Debbie, and she's going to go over our virtual icebreakers.
Good morning, everyone. And another little quick tip. If you want to quickly unmute yourself, you can do Alt-A. So Alt and the letter A, that will unmute yourself, or will quickly mute yourself with your keyboard. So we're going to do a virtual icebreaker, and I'm going to introduce Sheila Kane. She is our family and engagement coordinator. Did I say that correctly, Miss Sheila?
Sure, yes.
So let me change my slide. I'm not sure why it's not going. There we go. So we're going to do a Mentimeter.
All right, some of you have done this before. We love our Mentimeter and our word clouds. And so if you pick up a device, some device, a phone would be the easiest thing. And if you open your camera application, then just hover over the QR code and it will open up the Mentimeter for today in your default browser. If you don't want to use your phone, or you just have a laptop or a tablet as your alternate device, then you can actually just open up a browser, any browser, Safari, Google, whatever you choose, and go to menti.com, just menti.com, and enter in those 8 digits. And our activity for today is, of course, something to do with fall, which I'm happy the weather cooperated just slightly, at least this morning. And our question is, what's your favorite fall activity? So if you all could go ahead and access the Menti either way. If you're having trouble, please just put a question in the chat and we'll help you along the way. But I'm going to start displaying our answers shortly. Coming in already. Pumpkin spice coffee. I had some of that this morning. I made my own. Just tapped a little pumpkin spice into my home brew. So what happens here in the Mentimeter, if this is your first time, is the bigger the word, the more times it's actually been answered. So many of you enjoy hiking, and that's an excellent fall activity. Baking as well. It just seems like sometimes this weather just calls for some good baking and some good smells in the kitchen. Festivals, football games, leaf peeping, even in Florida. I haven't done a corn maze yet. I'm anxious to do that. I've seen some good pictures. I might have to add that to my, well, I don't know. This coming weekend, the corn mazes will probably be crazy with Halloween. I don't know if they last after that, but I'll keep trying. Thanksgiving with family, of course. We're all looking forward to that.
If you have not been able to, if you weren't able to scan that QR code, if you go to menti, menti.com, and enter in the code that's on the screen, you will be able to participate in this Mentimeter here.
Fun fall activities. Thanks everyone for participating. It'll keep coming in with a few more answers as you all are entering and answering. Long walks. Stand-up paddling, nice. More tennis. Bike rides. Yeah, I haven't been bike riding much in the summer, but I might dust my bike off and get out there. My husband's been biking, but not me. Anyway, just a fun way for all of us to, come together and enjoy getting to know each other a little through our favorite fall activities. So I'll hand it back to Debbie now, and we can go on with the session.
I'm going to introduce our speakers. Our first speaker is Dr. Valerie Brim. She's the Director of Strategic Partnerships. Dr. Brim, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Dr. Brim, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. I am going to just briefly to talk about our students and the students that you are mentoring and the students that have returned to us face to face, but are coming back different than prior to the pandemic. Since March 2020, over 25 million students were out of school. And when you think about 25 million students, that were a lot of students that were out of school. And when you talk about that number, if you think about students from 12 years old to 17, a 39.1% increase in suicide attempts. So when you began to look at this glaring data as to the students that we're mentoring now, although they're back physically, although they might appear to be okay, their experiences during this COVID is quite different than ever before. According to the research of Washington Post and others in Harvard University, they indicated the students that experience this, it's going to take decades to get over, that there will still be impact 10 years from now. So you think about if you have a second grader and you think about 10 years from now, they will still be trying to grapple with the outcome or the continued issue of this pandemic. The other thing that is a little bit more clear based on research is that the academic performance across the board declined. The assessments that were taken this past spring, every student decreased in performance. What we discovered also was the minority students, African American, Hispanic students, the marginalized students, or what we call the socially economic disadvantaged students, the gap for learning increased tremendously in comparison to either our middle class and affluent Caucasian families. And so when you see some of these pieces and your mentors that you are addressing, I want you to keep this in mind. JAMA Pediatric is one of the most research-based, I would say, cadre of doctors that have evaluated and been researching the impact of the pandemic on students. And they indicated students will demonstrate some of their anxiety a lot more. With you going to find kids rocking a lot more. You're going to find kids biting their nails. They're going to be less communicative. What do I mean by that? Where they might have they were talkative before, you're going to see a delay in that. You're going to start seeing some of your mentees as though you're starting all over from scratch. That yes, they will remember you. Yes, they will know you. But I would, Mrs. Simmons is going to come on with some of the strategies, but it's almost like introducing a new person because you really don't know. And as the students start talking with you, they will begin to share with you some of their experiences. Some of them will talk about the loss of jobs in their families, the shift financially where they were doing extremely well and they entered into situational poverty. You're going to have them, they're going to talk about the stress of their parents and some of the backlash. And one of the things I want us to be very cognizant of is that if they are living in environments that are still high stress homes, oftentimes parents might lash out, but not in an attempt or in intent of abuse in any manner. So if you're hearing some of the comments there, it might be alarming to us. Just kind of be patient with that conversation before we make any accusations, because the students are still kind of recovering and they're just sharing a lot of their pain. But if you hear this every single session, or you might begin to just kind of, you know, this is a lot, you might want to meet with your community liaison to say, is it possible that the counselor can call up the student and just kind of get some additional information? But we want to be very careful because there are tender components as they return back to school. And the last piece is that I don't know if you all are aware, but in Pinellas County, the moratorium for evictions has been lifted. So there's a possibility of 15 to 21,000 families could be impacted by evictions. So if you notice that you're getting a lot of calls saying your mentee didn't show up, your mentee, I would just make a note and just, you know, remind the liaison, could you please ask the attendance person to check on his attendance? Because if you normally see your kid every week, they're there, then we want to be mindful of them just absent for a period of time. Also, if there is some juggling with families and ones are moving in with other families and there seem to be some anxiety that is you see picking, you know, in your student, just don't pry for information, just give them an opportunity to talk about it. But just use strategies like reassurance or share your experience of your journey, that everyone who in this life have gone through some levels of ups and downs, hills and valleys, and just share your experience that, you know, weathering the storm, you get through it, and just learn from certain experiences, but keep them encouraged in reading books that take them away from their environment into a world of reading. Talk to them about, you know, exploring different, you know, activities, developing new hobbies, playing a new sport, anything that will keep them in a joyful type of mentality as their experience, as their family are experiencing different challenges, or they themselves have not returned completely as what we would consider a holistic, well-rounded student. And so I just wanted to kind of share those pieces with you, because here we are in October, and I can tell you as staff members, we've just been reeling. I mean, just moving like lightning, and it's exhausting to us. So I just could imagine students being brought back, still dealing with issues, but yet the challenge of learning and trying to make up any learning loss. And so those were my comments, not that they were gloom and doom, but I just thought it was very important to consider certain things that although we might was stabilized in our own homes, that might not be the case for your mentee. And just to keep those things in mind as you communicate and as you continue to build your relationship with your students. So that's all I had to
Thank you, Dr. Brim. Next, we have Lisa Leonard Doozy, our district volunteer coordinator.
Thanks, Debbie. Hi again. So I'm going to start with just a little background about myself because it's also just a time for us to kind of meet. I know that I'm new, so I grew up in Chicago and I got my undergraduate degree at Arizona State. I was a biology major. I have a BS in biology. And then I went back and I got a master's in teaching and learning from DePaul University in secondary education. So I'm still certified 6 through 12. I've taught science and math. I've spent a lot of time in schools. In my previous position, I worked for a company for 7 years. It was international education. So it was students mostly from China, and they studied at some of the private schools in the area. And then I worked domestically. I managed all the on-site ESL teachers. So I just wanted to share that with you because I've been in education now about 20 years. I have 2 kids of my own. I have 2 daughters, a 5th grader at Curlew Creek and a 7th grader at Eastlake Middle. My heart has always been rooted very strongly in public education. I'm so glad to be back, and being a mom here myself, I see, a different perspective. And as Dr. Brim is talking, it just reiterates the importance of everything that we've gone through, whether it's as parents or grandparents or people in the community, and how disruptive our lives have been, to really think about it from the child's perspective, even the amount of time, like we were talking about. So for example, my 5th grader, I was just reading something and it really resonated with me because it said the last normal school year, if you have a 5th grader, that she had would be in 2nd grade. Or my 7th grade, or the last normal school year she had was 4th grade, because that's when, we came home. And then if you have a 2nd grader, that child has never had a quote unquote normal school experience. So it really makes you start to think as a mentor, what our role is, how important it is. Even in the breakout rooms, we talked a little bit about this. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, having consistency, having something on the schedule, having another caring adult to talk to, having something to look forward to, and really kind of having their time to shine. As Dr. Brim was saying, we don't know what's going on at home, the different situations. It's just been stressful for everybody, right? And for a kid to be able to come in and to know, it's not about maybe their brother or their sister or a different friend. It's really their time. And it's so important as a mentor, honestly, to just listen and acknowledge what they're saying. We're not there to give advice. We're not there to be fixers. A lot of these kids just want consistency and a listening ear. And I'm sure as adults, we feel that way. Like if we get together with a friend and we're able to just kind of talk about ourselves and put it into perspective, we feel so much better. It's how we connect. It's just how we're wired as people. So as Debbie was saying, I mean, we're so thankful to have so many great mentors. It's making such a huge impact for these kids that need it now more than ever. And a little bit on my side of things, what I'm working on, I work very closely with the liaisons at the school, and I'm really trying to streamline that onboarding and training experience for the new liaisons that start, and also the liaisons that have been here a while. So again, as Dr. Brim mentioned, things are just different. We just live in a different world. So part of what we're doing on our end is staying current, giving liaisons the training that they need. Ms. Simmons is going to talk about some of the new online mentoring material we have. We kind of made a shift that we sort of thought was temporary. Now we're realizing that temporary is here to stay for a while. So having to pivot, and ways that we can support each other in this arena, ways that we can support you, whether you are meeting virtually or if you're meeting in person, just lots of different things that you can use. So I'm going to hand it over on that note to Ms. Simmons, and she can talk more in depth about what we've updated.
Thank you very much. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kiosha Simmons, and I am the district parent advocate. I'm really excited to be taking part in this coffee hour today. I started mentoring in 2018, a 3rd grade student at Mount Vernon Elementary, and it was such a phenomenal blessing to be able to pour into someone else's life and to truly just serve as a friend. No one passing any type of judgment, just truly being there for her. So this morning, I'm going to talk to you about the mentor resources that are available. If you have questions at any point while I'm speaking, please feel free to unmute or raise your hand, or you can put a comment in the chat so that I can assist you. So I'm going to share our website. And are you all able to see the PCS website now? Yes, perfect. So on this website, and we'll put all this information in the chat as well. When you are looking to access the mentor resources that are available, you will go to pcsb.org/mentor. That's pcsb.org/mentor. Then you will click on mentor resources, which is where we are right now. And then you're going to scroll down to see a variety of resources that have been uploaded to our website. More importantly, we've spent some time over the summer and we have added additional resources for you all. So I am going to stop sharing this screen so that I can now show you the actual activities. So I will start with the elementary education activities that it's a mentor toolkit. And again, these are just suggested resources. You are not in any way obligated to utilize them, but in case you feel that you need some type of structured support when having the conversations with your mentee, this is a great place to find additional resources for you. So we've included a structure that breaks down the 30-minute session on a weekly basis. Does it mean it's going to go like this every week? No, and that's okay. The first thing that we would encourage you to do is to make sure that you're taking time out to do introductions, to find out how your mentee is doing, see how their week is going. And you want to ask open-ended questions to make sure that they're not just giving you a shoulder shrug or, so that you can really find out if there is something that maybe you need to pivot from what you've planned to focus on a conversation that is really a need for them at that time. There's a lot that can happen. As Dr. Brim stated, this has been a very, very difficult time for our students. So we want to make sure that we're making ourselves available to cater to what their needs are. So you can always start off with asking a question. How are you doing today? Tell me something you're learning in school this week. What did you do this weekend? Did you do anything, outside of the house? Did you go to any parks? Sometimes you just have to ask those probing questions, but you're listening. The biggest thing is to make sure that you are listening to their response, and if they continuously tell you, oh, I just sat around the house, or, I had to babysit, maybe you could give some ideas of things that they can do when they're in the house with their siblings. Maybe they can create a game. Maybe they can read a book. So we want to always give them ideas of things that they can do, even if they are spending time in the house, babysitting, just keeping them positive and encouraged. The next 12 to 15 minutes of the conversation with your mentee should directly correlate with the weekly theme, conversation, or the activity that has been planned. And as you look at this activity is going to give you a variety of this toolkit is going to give you a variety of activities to utilize on a weekly basis. So when you're first starting off, you may want to get to know each other a little better by asking some of these questions. What's your favorite subject in school and why? What's the best way to eat an Oreo? And we all have a different way that we eat our Oreos. Some of you may just take a bite. Some of you may peel it apart. Some of you may eat the chocolate outside, or some of you may eat the filling inside first, right? So it's just to have fun, lighthearted conversation to get to know each other. One of the questions that I always loved is if someone gave you $50, what would you do with it? And that's always a great way to see just how their minds spin and the way that they think through those things. So be sure to look at some of the questions that are offered. There's activities such as getting to know you, two-way interviews. And ideally, when you are asking your mentee these questions, please give them an opportunity to learn about you as well. Let them know, what was something that you really enjoyed when you were in school. One of the favorite places that you've traveled to, or maybe somewhere you're hoping to travel to one day. So it's important for both of you all to become comfortable and familiar with each other. So making sure that you're sharing just as much as you're hoping that they share as well. We also have in the toolkit, there are going to be links where you can click on YouTube videos to support some of the activities that were planned. This one in particular is a visual book. It's an audio recording of the book called I Am Human. And it's a book about empathy. So if you just click over this link, it will bring the book up and you all will be able to listen together. This is something that you can do face-to-face if you have an electronic device, whether your phone or a laptop, or you potentially can do it when you are meeting if you are a virtual mentor via Zoom. So as you're looking through, there's no particular order that you have to go in. Just know that this is a resource that is available to you to utilize. On our website, we also have additional resources that are directly created for our African American community and also our Hispanic community. Okay. Do we have any questions at this time? Before I close, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. So apparently I moved slow, so I'm trying to find the mentor handbook again.
Okay, are you on the website?
I am on the website.
Okay, so after you type in mentor resources, you'll scroll down about midway. And let me see if I can share my screen again.
Oh, you mean in the whoa. That's why I had trouble trying to do this. Okay, I got a piece, got .org/mentor.
pcsb.org/mentor.
Gotcha. Okay, let me make sure I got that right. Strategic partnerships comes up.
Yes.
Mentor tutor.
That's right.
Okay.
And do you see all the mentor resources?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Volunteer information, mentor tutor information, mentor programs.
Yes. And so you'll click on mentor resources. It's right under peer-to-peer mentors.
Gotcha.
Okay.
There we are. That's what I need. All right. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay.
So Joanne has a question.
Oh, yes.
Yosha. Unmute. You'll have to unmute yourself, Joanne.
My mentee told me she just doesn't do homework. It's a 4th grade girl. And I just was curious how to handle that.
So is it that she doesn't have homework or is she refusing to do it?
She told me she just doesn't do it, just
Okay.
because.
So, you know, that's good. At least she's being honest. So that's a start. One thing that I was going to close with is each week, we really recommend you all setting a goal together, a goal for the week. So I would always set a goal with my mentee of something that I'm going to work really hard on. And for an adult, we can say something as simple as, I'm really going to try hard to make sure that I drink 5 cups of water every day. And you can ask her, what's something that you're going to set a goal towards? And you can even tell her, you know, I really would love to see that you are working hard to complete 4 days of homework. And I'm going to check next week when I come in, and I may have, you know, a nice little prize for you. And it's up to you. You don't have to incentivize. If you want to, you can. If you don't, you can literally just give her the verbal praise and celebrate the success of her completing it. Something else that I would definitely keep in mind is you can always mention that to the front office staff, letting them know that your mentee is mentioning that she does not complete homework, because there may be more of a root cause as into why she isn't. It could be that she doesn't have the resources at home. It could be a lack of knowledge that she needs in order to complete the homework. So sometimes you want to do a little digging, and always feel free to talk with the school staff to make sure that they are aware to support the student. That was a great question. Thank you.
And one more thing, she also, she's had lunch pals for several years. This is my first year with her. And the second time I came, she said, aren't you going to bring me anything?
So that is something that comes up from time to time. because various mentors have various philosophies of rewarding the students. And ultimately, and I know Ms. Bushman can probably speak to that, it's totally your preference. Sometimes we would reward the students, you know, with a snack, or maybe they like stickers, or maybe it's a pencil. For my mentee, when she was in 3rd grade, she didn't really enjoy writing. So I made a point to reward her with a really just beautiful, you know, blinged out journal and a really fancy pen in hopes to encourage her to write. But again, that is totally your discretion. It is not required. Yes, Marilyn, I see you have your hand up.
I do. Because my background is teaching. One of the things I did the second time I met with my mentee is his teacher was picking him up from lunch, and I walked up to her and said, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Miss Marilyn to him, but Marilyn Olivio, and I'm his mentor on Wednesdays. And is there anything that I could do to help him with academics? And she said reading. And he had already told me math was his favorite subject in art. And I said, well, how's reading? And he said, nah, I'm not that great at it. I said, yet. You're not that great at it yet. I said, I used to teach reading. I said, maybe I could help you with that. So the other thing I did, and I hope it was all right, I gave him my cell phone number, and I said, if you ever need to talk, or your mom wants to talk to me, I'd be happy to talk with her. You know, so, and I didn't ask for his number, I just gave him my number. So I hope that's okay.
So I will let Dr. Brim or Ms. Bushman speak to that one.
Okay, so normally well, our stance is that we inform our mentors not to share their private numbers with their mentee. But one of the things that we're doing, and there's a caveat, I mean, the other side to that. One of the things, even with Mrs. Leonard Doozy, we want our families and our parents to be somewhat involved at least twice a year, maybe in the fall or maybe in the and in the spring. We haven't, you know, really scaffolded that out as to what that looks like, but I would just, you know, proceed with extreme caution. He has it now, but we want to make sure the family is not calling you because they're in need, or they're calling you, you know, you want to be very careful with that. But I would just outline, this is just in extreme emergencies or something, but not as a standard of practice that we want that to, as you know, to move forward.
He tucked it in his pocket, so we'll see if it gets washed.
Okay.
He probably doesn't have it anymore.
That's it. But thank you for being so caring.
So I'm going to go ahead, and at this moment, I'd like to put everyone in breakout rooms. I know there are a couple of people who still have their hands up, but I'm going to go ahead and put you back into your breakout rooms. And I would like for you to kind of continue this conversation with each other. Take that opportunity to see what others are doing. So I have a couple of questions that you can discuss in your breakout rooms, and we'll do 10 minutes in the breakout room. So 9 minutes with a 1 minute countdown. And then when we return to the main session, we'll have about 5 minutes to maybe discuss out each coordinator who's in that group, take down some notes, and maybe discuss one or two things that were highlighted in your breakout room. And then we will close at 12 o'clock to be mindful of your guys' time. So the question going into the breakout room is, considering the information you learned today, what ideas or feelings do you have for your mentor sessions? And then what is an activity that we covered today that you would look forward to using with your student? So going in, and then I do want to remind people, this is a great resource. It's called The Kids Book of Questions by Dr. Gregory Stock. It has over 200 questions in here. I use this with my students, and I would just have them pick a random number, and then I would read that question, and then we would all discuss the question together. So that's something that you can get on Amazon, and I will when we return from the back to the main session, I'll have that in the chat for you. But again, I'm going to open up the breakout room and I'm going to I want to return. So really we have 8 minutes to kind of going into our breakout room. So see you all in 8 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. I know that was quick. We had a lot of great information, and I'll go ahead and start with my group. A suggestion was to see how we can do breakout rooms based on grade levels. So elementary mentors being able to meet with some other elementary mentors to get ideas. So that'll be something I will look into on how we can do that with our breakout rooms. Thank you for the conversations that we had in our breakout room. It was really helpful. How about Dr. Brim? How was your group?
Can I ask Clyde, I think was the only male. Clyde, would you report out for us? Thank you.
30 seconds.
Well, it's everything was good information and things I really never thought about, but just looking forward to face-to-face with my little guy. And again, thanks for the information. It did help a lot.
Great. Miss Kiosha, how about your group? 30 seconds.
Yes, it was great. The biggest thing, the takeaway, Ms. Bushman, that I would like to share, it was requested to make sure that the book of questions could be housed at each school. And I know that they did have copies before, but as I explained, sometimes, those books grow legs and walk away. So that's something that maybe we could look into making sure that we have them. Someone else stated that they've been using the online resources and taking their time with the getting to know you activities. So I was very happy to hear that.
Ms. Jones?
Hello, everybody. It went really well. We shared a lot of resources and ideas, how also to use games online when we don't know. Miss Janet mentioned that her student is the one who teaches her. And that makes the student feel really well about himself because it empowers him. So they are playing Minecraft online and Hangman, but to give the space to the student to feel important. I don't know if Miss Janet, you want to bring up your question regarding the student.
Why don't we do that maybe after we do each breakout room and then end, and then I will stop the recording and then we can maybe ask that question.
That sounds perfect.
Miss Leonard Doozy?
Hi, we talked a lot of the same topics that you guys talked about, but just a reminder about the mentor handbook, just talking about that there are different resources available. We also talked a lot about the questions, putting emphasis on questions. We also had a really good dialogue about the idea of gifts and creative ways to let your mentor know that your mentee know that you care about them and they're valued, but kind of creative ways outside of the box. Like if you know that your student's favorite restaurant, the example we used is Chick-fil-A, maybe around the holidays, you could pick up lunch, let them know, something like that, handmade gifts. And we also had a bit of a conversation about the transition if you've been a mentor for a while, if you are now matched with a new student. So we had a gentleman in the room who had been working with high school students, and now he's working with a kindergartner. So talking about how you shift and how it's very different. So that was a really cool conversation for mentors that have been here a while, that each year your experience can change drastically depending on the student that you're matched with. So that was a really cool conversation.
Awesome, thank you. And Mrs. Kane?
Last but not least, we had a couple of topics that we were discussing. One was just about reestablishing routines. Now, as some may have been disconnected over the last year and a half. Some may have gone virtual, but are now back face-to-face. And so using the mentor resources that Ms. Simmons had outlined, so that can help with some framework or some pattern or schedule to the sessions. And also we had a discussion, which we didn't get to finish, about the frustration of these sessions being at lunchtime, just the limited amount of time you get to really connect with, the student having to get lunch and then wanting to kind of be pulled away to their friends, and especially at the middle school and high school level, that's a definite frustration. And we didn't get to answer that because we got pulled back to the main room. So I took some notes and from people who were having particular issues with that, and I'd like to follow up with them.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Ms. Simmons, you have your hand raised?
I just want to say one thing and talk about the power of mentoring. I was so happy to see that my high school mentor, Ms. Rosalind Connolly, is on the call today. She served as my mentor all 4 years in high school, and she's still mentoring. So it was a pleasure to have her on here and to be able to say thank you for all of your dedication to me and the other girls in high school.
Oh, I love that. I almost want to
Hey,
cry.
Keosha. I want to cry too.
Well, thank you,
I
everyone.
want to just,
Yes, Dr. Brim, go ahead. Yes.
I'm sorry, briefly acknowledge Gay Lively. She's a previous principal at Bay Point Elementary, and she's joining the mentoring world. And I'm just so grateful because she loves so many children.
Yes, I see.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining our first virtual coffee hour for this new school year. We were excited to see all of your faces on here, and keep an eye out in your emails for our newsletter that will have our link to register for next month's coffee hour. We look forward to seeing you back and hearing more about how your mentoring sessions are going. And again, thank you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Miss Leonard Doozy. Email us or call us, and we look forward to seeing you all next month. Thank you,
Debbie,
everyone. I will
can you
stay
s-
online. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.